Hey, this is Scott again. So I'm going to do part two for the lab one in my introductory sessions to R. So if you didn't catch part one, please go back. In fact, I think I'm going to add some things to that one. I'm going to call it 1B, I think, or something like that. But anyway, here we are in RStudio, and I'm going to go line by line just like I did last time. I'm going to hold the control key down and hit enter, which will execute um, oops, one piece at a time. And so just to let you see, I'm going to pull across. I got a dialog box when I clicked on that auto comment right there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select data, right? So I have in here, I've got a couple of files, and this one right here is simply just a data file for a CSV that I have. I could actually load either one. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I'm loading that now. So with this read table function, and so I'm going to hit Control Enter and just take a look at that, what that looks like. And so you can see down below that if I can find my cursor, you can see that this is the file that I just loaded down here. Now, if I wanted to look at the actual file that I just loaded, I can display that, right? So I'm just going to hit, this is again the str function on that same file that I just loaded. So let's take a look at what it looks like. And so I've got the internal structure here. So you can see down at the bottom, I've got the different columns that are in this file, etc. If I want to look at the text editor for this, it's actually the fix function, F-I-X. And so I've got two monitors up. And so this is what that looks like in the text data editor through R. All right. So I can look at that. I'm going to close this down. And so another way to do it is I commented this out, but if I said read the CSV, I showed you that CSV in my file. And so I would just need to put the path to get to that, the file name, the header. I actually have a header there, and then the non-applicable strings there. So you can use that as well. And then you could create, you could look at that with the text editor, what was loaded as well. Let you try that on your own. So this next dim function is to get the dimensions. So you can see down here what is displayed. Oops, so there's 397 rows, and there are 9 columns to that file. All right. Then we did this last time a little bit. I can pick off various things. I can look at the 1 through 4, the first 4 rows across all columns. If I had up here, if I had labeled this, I could pick, the first 3 or whatever, but since I did not put a number in there, it'll give me all the columns. I can also use this head function. This is really quite useful. So it gives me a header on the first few columns. If I want to specify additional, like the first 20 instead of the first 6 or 7 that it gives by default, I just hit enter and it gives me the first 20. Now, I can also remove columns that, I'm sorry, rows, not columns. I can remove rows that are non-applicable. In other words, they're missing data, incomplete cases. So I'm going to do that. And then we'll look at the dimensions and see, now you see that it's 392 down here. down here, right? It's 392 versus 397 that we had just a minute ago. And then the names function gives you just the column names as well. So let's look at some graphics of this data. So one thing that I could do is I can just plot. And if I wanted to plot the cylinders, the column cylinders in MPG, if I do it this way, it's not going to work, right? I'm going to hit enter, and it's not found because it doesn't know what I'm actually trying to associate this. So what data frame am I talking about? So in R, if you want to use the data frame, you can explicitly say auto $ cylinders and auto $ MPG, which is really kind of interesting because if you have two data frames and you want to mix them up, you can do it actually this way with this explicit statement. But if I do it right here, it will actually give me a plot. You can see on the lower right hand pane down here. So you'll see that, and it explicitly states where they're coming from as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this because we're going to look at it in a different light in just a minute. All right. So let me do that. So let me attach this auto, right? I apologize. I got to get this monitor situation figured out a little bit better. All right. So this attach function will specify the data frame, and then I can use that with implicit calls rather than explicit calls. What does that mean? Let's look at it. The example will show you. So attach auto, that gets the data frame. Now, when I use the same command that I used before that we said didn't work, I'm going to do it again, and it will work. And it will work because it's going to look at cylinders and MPGs directly from that data frame. The other thing that I can do, this as factor thing really works well. So right now, cylinders are numeric, but what if I want to plot them across kind of as a category? I can use this as factor, and if I do that and then I plot, this is what happens. So you can see along the lower right hand, what it's going to do is it's going to, instead of trying to plot this numerically, it plots it as a category: 3 cylinders, 4 cylinders, 5 cylinders, 6 and 8 cylinders. All right, so now if I want to specify red, I can do that as well. So now I can create that plot with red color. I can manage the variable width based upon the number of cases or observations within that particular boundary. So you can see 3 and 5. There's not very many of those. There's a lot of 4s, and then there's some 6s and 8s cylinders as well. So that's what the variable width does. And then if I want to do horizontal, it's the same plot, but it plots it horizontally versus vertically, which is the default. And then I can also create labels. So I'm creating an X label and a Y label here, cylinders and MPG. And I hit that, and now I have that. Histograms are great, very simple. Hist with whatever variable or column you want to use. So there's that. If I want to adjust that, I can do that as well. And just different ways to look at the grids and the granularity of the distribution itself. Pairs, this is used to create a matrix of scatter plots. So let me just illustrate it by doing it. Pairs of auto, and then I'm going to pair the different variables. So you can see that basically a scattergram diagram correlation really matrix between You can think of it like variance and covariance plots between the different variables, essentially. And then I can plot the horsepower in MPG. So this is a numeric plot specific to those two columns. And I can use the identity, hopefully this will work, here. And then what I can do, you notice that, where'd my cursor go? Come on. It's on my other screen. See how this says finish here? So what it's asking me to do is I'm going to pick out some of these outliers. What are these things? And then when I click finish, it's going to label those. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool way to look at it. And so you can do interactive things with R as well. If I want to do summary, then that essentially gives me some statistics on the data, right? So first quartile, median, mean, third quartile, and max, right? So all the different percentiles of that. I could also do the summary for MPG. And so that is a way to do it for one variable. Again, it's the same, but it's just for that one particular variable. All right, so I'm going to conclude now, and I'll look at lab 3 in another video. I like to make these pretty short, and I'm also going to record that first video just because I think there's a couple of plots that didn't show up in the last one. So, all right, well, thanks for joining. Please leave a comment and appreciate the likes. Thanks. Bye.